It's Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, and we're back with one more show of the neighborhood news. And I'd like to remind you again, if you are watching us and it's not a Tuesday night, it's because you're watching a repeat show. So you can always watch us next Tuesday at 7 o'clock here on Channel 95 for a new show of the neighborhood news. For the Portuguese community out there, I like always to welcome everybody. Sejam bem-vindos a mais programa das suas notícias da sua vizinhança. É terça-feira, 7 horas da noite, aqui no canal 95, estão a escutar e ouvir mais programa de notícias da sua vizinhança. Se não é terça-feira, é porque está a ouvir programa que está a ser repetido, portanto pode ver de novo. Na próxima terça-feira, às 7 horas, nós teremos programa novo para si. Fique connosco e espero que goste do nosso programa. John, again, and it's been happening for a couple of weeks and probably it's going to happen for a couple of months, is John is being tied up with work between his office here in Fall River, and he has to go regularly to Washington. Sometimes he's late and he's not going to be making in time to come to our show. But I fixed the problem, and I think I fixed it the best way, and I've been.
I don't know if I go that far. Fixing the problem.
I fixed the problem, and I invite Faust to be co-hosting with me this show. Faust is somebody that our community already recognized by voice. Those that usually use computer, they probably seen through computers, but now they will be able to see him and hear him through TV.
I'm not sure that's going to be an improvement. I'll try to talk a lot so they can
exactly
they can just focus on my voice.
Yes, and I have to say that I did ask one more friend of us to co-host the show with us and to make this show interesting. So let's see if she's going to accept it, and probably our next show she will be here with us.
Okay, so we're not going to let the cat out of the bag until that happens.
No, we're not. So how you been doing? How are you?
I'm good. I have been off the radio for a while, but now I'm part of the exciting world of television.
Yes.
So I hardly miss it. I hardly notice.
Really?
Yeah, but I've been good. I've been busy. I've been around town talking to a lot of people, as I always did, and that's great.
So you're still working around Fall River?
I am still working in media, and I'm still working in Fall River to some extent, in the entire South Coast.
Oh, that's good.
So I get to talk to a lot of people, and that's been great. It's one thing that I would miss. Because when I was on the radio, I got to talk to a lot of people, a lot of business owners, and I can still do that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you got to keep my ear to the ground. And,
so, and part of the stuff that we've been talking about is the possibility of us going live, and if that happens, it's gonna, we want our listeners to be calling in and having the opportunity to again get in touch with you, getting in touch with our other guests, and so this way we could have a very interesting conversation over TV.
Yeah, I'll have to. I'll be all nervous then. Oh, that's right. The radio was live too.
Exactly. It's the same thing. I mean, we don't have papers to take notes or anything like that. But
no, this is totally unscripted. Working without a net.
So, Faust, you've been following the news, all the nationally and local news?
Of course. I follow local news more closely than national news. I look at the highlights and the national news, but I certainly listen to and follow everything that's going on in the city. Sure, always have. Even when I lived away, I did that.
That's good. And I'm not a big follower nationally. I mean, I know pretty much the candidates But now it's been so much news about the candidates. But really, now that's when we're going to start finding out what those news are true and what are not true. So,
well, that's the thing about the national campaign, is that it goes on for so long.
Exactly.
And the early front runners are very rarely, and I know I say this at some peril, because people think that the Republican front runner is going to stay there, but it doesn't often happen that the front runner in the early stages is still the front runner later. So I have time to catch up.
Yeah.
But things happen much more quickly in Fall River, so I have to keep closer attention.
Yes, and sure, everybody's talking about Donald Trump is the big news. I don't know if that really is going to come down to being one of the candidates picked by the party. I don't think that's going to. I don't think that's going to happen.
The party's going to do everything it can to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, and again, he says what people wants to hear, and people follow him because that's what people wants to hear. But the reality is, no way we could, no way this country could turn in such a, it's a big turn.
Right. I think he does appeal to a certain number of people. I think his poll numbers are a little deceptive now because it's not go time. It's not that serious. Mm-hmm. I think there are some people who are responding with his name to polls now that won't later, when they focus more and when it really counts.
Yeah.
Right now, above all, he's interesting.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that both parties are really struggling to get the right candidate?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I don't think, with everyone that's in, there are very few good candidates in either party. Mm-hmm. I think the Republicans have a couple of fallback positions, but the Democrats, I have no idea what they're going to do, except maybe they'll throw Hillary up there and she could lose to Donald Trump, I think.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying now it's going to be very important from now on to start following. Because until now, it was just everybody wants to be on the paper, everybody wants to be on the news, so we're just going to throw out there whatever we want to throw out there just to make the front page of the paper. Now,
Donald's good at that.
Yeah, and Donald's good at that. So now we're going to go down to business.
Well, summer's over. It's true.
Now we're going to get down to business, and now that's what, and I think that from now on, that's when people are going to need to start paying attention, because now they're going to have to come down with the reasons and how they're going to make the change,
and
how they're going to make it.
You're going to see those poll numbers change, probably starting now.
Yeah. I will say so. But as today, I have to say that either party, I really don't see any candidates, and at this point, we don't know where the party's going to go, which candidate they're going to pick. So at this time, on the runs before, we pretty much already have the candidate kind of line up. We already know the party really is pushing this candidate. So for that part of the process, I think delayed.
I think the candidates are scared of the candidates they have. I don't know if they're going to be so scared of perhaps Jeb Bush in the end, but the Democrats, I don't think like anyone they have at all.
Exactly.
I mean, Sanders is again getting a lot of attention. He gets his attention on the internet. Trump gets his attention on the TV because of their constituencies, because of the demographics. But is that going to, the Democrats really want to put Sanders up against a mainstream candidate? I don't think so. I mean,
and the Republican side, you have after down from Donald, you have another Bush, and the the Republican Party knows that the Republicans really don't want another Bush.
Yeah, but I think he's looking better than he did. Donald Trump may be helping Jeb Bush more than Jeb Bush could help himself.
Exactly, yes. So he is the two. On the other side, you have probably, we've been noticing now, the vice president picking up, some votes, But again, you put Hillary against Biden. I don't know how that's gonna. What
how Biden has this tendency to say the wrong things sometimes, so he could blow himself up.
Exactly.
It may be he may wind up the compromise candidate, but he's still got to run a good campaign for everyone to be comfortable with him. Although, if there is this, like you're describing, this run to comfort, who can we be comfortable with? Biden might be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I think so. And the reason I'm saying that is because he was not, he didn't have intention to run. But I think it's the party that's kind of pushing him to, you need to...
please someone. Oh yeah, Joe, you're here.
Yeah.
And if he gets coached well, maybe... And of course, he hasn't really been in it, so he hasn't made any mistakes yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's
it's good because half of the campaign, it's the bad days that really the media can throw them under the bus.
Right.
Those days are getting to an end. So and from here on, and it's going to be a very interesting. Campaign, and it's going to be a very interesting. That
it always is for me. I'm not affiliated with a party. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I've voted both ways, so it's always interesting to me, or usually interesting to me. Sometimes there have been times when one party just didn't have a very good candidate at all, but it's certainly interesting. If it's more than that, we should be grateful. But it's at least interesting. Now, interesting can be good or bad.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to now as the candidates gets more closer. They really want to get the attention of the voter, and they really want to get the votes. So from here now on, I think it's going to be very interesting. And local politics.
Always interesting. Interesting doesn't cover it.
The first, we taped this show, so tonight's going to be the second part of the debates out of the 29 candidates for city council. And yesterday was the first part. There was 13 because I believe Mario Duarte could make it for health issues. He could make it. So it was 13 candidates. City councils now in office was Pat Casey, Joe Camara, and Linda Pereira on this first night. And then we had seven or I believe nine of other new candidates for office. And it's interesting because I'm so happy that I really didn't run for office, because
you are?
I'm so happy. And
I'm unhappy. I want to tell you, I'm unhappy, Carlos. But
I know that, and that's what I'm going to go right into it. All the candidates are running in there that I knew, they're born in Fall River. They are all
Are they
born
all, really?
Yes, I believe so. The ones last night that I know. I could be wrong, but anyway. And one of the things that I've been hearing on the media today, one of the bigger complaints, I heard at least 3 people calling media today complaining about, was they need to know English. These candidates need to put sentences together that we can understand what they're talking about. And I'm listening, and I said, I'm so glad that because on top of that, all that they asking for on the candidates, I have an accent. So
Carlos,
I'm so glad, and I have to say, I have to tell Faust this, because he was the first one that, that tapped on my back and said, Carlos, you need to run for city council.
But I've also
I'm
talked to you
so
about your
happy.
accent. Your accent means nothing. If people are complaining about your accent, they're wrong.
No.
I'll just state that they're wrong.
Yeah, I have to say, some the listeners said, we have no problem with accents, especially if the person is not born in this country. We understand the accent, and it's nothing to do with the accent. It's just how they run the English. It's not a correct English.
Sure, if you can't string a sentence together, and it is true that if you're not a native-born English speaker, sometimes you get the syntax of a sentence wrong, but to object to that, I think, is also foolish. Well, I'll just say it, not just because it's your show, but you're a very bright guy, you have great ideas, and you get things done, and so if you split in an infinitive, or just put one word where it's not supposed to be in a sentence and people object to that, they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Now, I understand what those listeners are talking about, and you do too. I heard some of the debate, but I know some of the candidates.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just that. I think it's a nice way of saying that they don't think clearly. Mm-hmm. And if you think clearly and don't speak exactly correctly because you didn't learn English as a kid, that's one thing. If you're a native-born speaker and you can't speak correctly, it's usually because you're not thinking correctly, and that's really what they're objecting to. And there are some candidates like that.
Yeah.
You should still. I don't care what you say to me. You're still a young man.
I'm still young.
You should consider it. I've asked you to run for city council. I've asked you to run for mayor at different times.
Yeah, no. Thank you, but no thank you. And like I always make a joke out of, I thought you were my friend. So moving on, I think they all have good intentions. I really do. I really do. They all have good intentions.
They all sounded sincere to me.
Exactly. They all have good intentions. Some of them have more experience than others. Mm-hmm. Some of them, one of them is trying to get back in city council office, so definitely has some experience from before. That he did some mistakes, maybe did. Those times, what we pay now for some mistakes that was done, 2 generations ago, or 3 generations ago, and now we seen the wrong they did. But at the time, the people thought and give them the votes, and they thought they were doing the right thing. But now, generations after, we found out that we are on the position that we are because of that. And one thing that I have been mentioned to people is, and maybe some of them, they really not seriously thinking they will becoming mayor, they will become city councils.
A couple anyway, sure.
Exactly, but they want to get the attention. They want to get it out where they cannot get it out in 3 minutes in front of the city council. So now they have the attention, and they run to get that attention so people can listen to the message that they have. Because I don't believe that for you to be a city council, you're going to focus just in one problem. The city is facing so many problems, and a lot of those candidates just came out of because the purple bags, and now to add the purple bags, they have the $10 fee. So when you run for office, but you just gonna have that fight that you wanna bring it up, I don't think that you have enough, and I give you all the rights to run if you think that that's going to give you the time that you need to shake some people and wake up some people.
But you got to show us more.
Exactly, but it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. And yesterday, I was surprised by a few there. Again, what they had to say, and I wish that if they get to office, they will be able to accomplish what they saying last night. But
well, that's always an issue, especially in the city council. Because there's only so much you can do as a city councilor.
Yeah, and something, Faust, and another part of that is you need to educate yourself before you go to a forum and you tell people that I would like to do this, but then found out that's illegal to what you're trying to do. So you need to educate yourself for that. So I heard a couple of candidates saying, I would like to do this, and I'm telling my friend next to me said, it's illegal to do that. So, but for the public out there, hey, it comes a great idea. Why are we not doing that? But it's not possible. He's never going to make it, possible because it's illegal. He's going to have to go and fight on the state first before he can come down to locally and try to do that. So that's why I'm saying it's a lot more than just a purple bag.
Yeah, but we knew that was going to happen this year, and they are having this say. By the way, I believe there's two candidates trying to get back on, Steve Camara and Earl Gaudette.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Yes. And they were both there last night.
Yeah. We know there's going to be a turnover, at least two. I think there's going to be a couple more. What do I know? But I think it's going to be 4 total, something like that, maybe more. So people should pay attention. We are going to have new city councilors.
Yes.
And, some are obviously going to be more well-versed. We didn't see some of them last night. But we will, as we tape this, we will see more of them tonight. And they'll have a wider agenda, and I think in the end people are going to realize that they're going to say they're going to look at the candidates and say we want the city council takes up so many issues in the course of a year, course of 2 years, that what I do is I don't worry about a particular issue with the city council candidate. If they're on a side I disagree with on an issue, I don't worry about that one issue because, as you say, there's so many things that they have to deal with. I look at their overall competence, what I believe will be their competence, as you say, their education on the issues. Are they going to be able to handle everything that comes at them? And sometimes the qualifications. I don't think there are any particular qualifications to be a city councilor, but it's nice to have some people with certain backgrounds if they pass muster in other ways. I look at that, and then they vote for like 3.
Yeah, and that's another thing is when you become a city council, your job is not just sitting in there and voting stuff, doing city council. You're going to be in charge of committees where it's going to have to decide a lot of things on the future of the city, a lot of things that the citizens going to depend on. So it's not just a city council seat, and Linda Pereira mentioned last night that it's a full-time job.
If you do it right, it is.
If you do it right, and she's right, because if you really want to do the job of city council right, it's 24 hours a day, because I'm not a city council, and it's a 24-hour job because it's people calling me for everything and anything. So I can just imagine a city council job. But another thing that I would like to say is I would prefer to have somebody that say, I don't have a degree, but I'm willing to listen to the people and be on their sides and be their voice and try to get the ideas go through. And then somebody that say, I have this degree and I have a office, I have a business that with 50 employees, and I have experience in business. That really not going to tell me much, especially on the situation that the city is right now, because we are on this situation because we've been listening for so many years to lawyers and to doctors' degrees and all of that, and look what we got. God is here, where we are right now. So it's going to take us somebody from the street to take us out of this hole? I believe so, because he's going to feel the way we feel, and he's going to say, that's the only way out.
Well, you raise an interesting point, because I think in general people respond emotionally to candidates. Does he feel the way I feel? Or does she feel the way I feel? And because you can't, I think, really narrow it down to 1 or 2 issues, because there, as you say, so many other issues, sometimes it is just a gut feeling, and that's something these debates do accomplish. You know something about, besides their resume, their qualifications, something about what kind of people they are, I think. Particularly the newcomers, because I don't think they're necessarily that good at faking it.
Yeah.
They haven't learned that yet. And a lot of times it is a gut feeling. And so that's what's great about these debates.
Yeah. And another thing is, the city council are sitting there right now. They should not get mad when people say, it's so many years, they're in there for so many years and nothing, it's done. And
they would say the same thing if they were challenging.
Exactly. So they should not get upset with that comment, because that's reality. They've been in office for all that time, and we are in the situation that we are, and probably they talk wrong votes sometimes, and they very well had good intentions to take the votes, but on our private life sometimes we make decisions that we regret it after. We say, I should not did that, or I should not bought this house, it's too big for me, so it's like so if somebody tells me, and if somebody tells me, Carlos, you should really not buy that car, it's going to give you a lot of trouble. It's going to give you a lot of problems down the road, because my neighbor has one and it's falling apart now 2 years after. I cannot get mad to that person. She's trying to help me. She's trying to help me open my eyes. Maybe I should just get out of it, the problem, as soon as I can. But seems like that they take personal when people say, you part of the problem.
Often they do, and I agree with you. I think that's wrong. This is just business.
Exactly.
And you just have to take. You would say the same thing. They would say the same thing at that position. People are looking for their advantage. It's either going to resonate with people or not. But getting angry is not a good defense at all. I think that happens a lot in the city council, as you know. Tempers boil over, and that's a bad habit they've gotten into. But I think the incumbents have to be careful. I think there's going to be more turnover than just those 2 seats. And I don't know who they're going to be, but I think people are watching very closely. I don't know if there's going to be a huge turnout, but I think those who are focused are looking very carefully at everyone right now. Change is a bit in the wind still I think it's a holdover from last year.
I think so. And I think that the city council has 2 empty seats right now. But this is going to come down to at least 3 or 4 new city councils, definitely.
Yeah. And that's good. There's nothing ever wrong with that.
Exactly. That's going to be enough to change, to have the votes that we need to change, because you have to agree that what brought us here is because we've been having a divided city council, and we knew we thought that was going to be fixed with this new mayor coming in. And what we saw was just changing from one side to another. So this side was in power with the old mayor. Now this side, it's in power with this mayor. And when we have that divided city council, those 3 new ones, or maybe the 4th new one, it's going to be enough to compensate the divided votes on the city council and move us forward. Be on the voter side, be on the taxpayer side. I really don't know, and that's interesting.
I do think it's a year where being too closely identified with the incumbent mayor maybe not a good thing.
Yeah. So, and half an hour. It's gone.
Really? No commercials, no nothing?
Commercials, nothing. Here we don't have to break to make money. So, very good. We see you next week. And probably next week we will have the debates for the mayor. So we will go and talk a little bit about the mayor.
Sure.
So very good. Thank you. Thank you, Faust.
My pleasure.
And see you next week.